Welcome to Best Kept Secrets Travel, episode 12. My name's Morgan.
And I'm Will, and on today's episode, we're doing a deep dive into Budapest, the capital of Hungary.
Best friends, and that's for life. Who stay traveling? I'm talking worldwide. 65 countries between the two. Every moment is so unbelievable. Sharing the best kept secrets about the trips and mistakes they've made that they can't forget. So tell me if you're ready for a time to remember as they gear up for the next adventure. Yeah. Woo! Best kept secrets travel.
Morgan, for some people watching and listening us for the first time today, they might not know how they can follow us, how they can find us, and what they can do to support us.
Now, the best way that you can support us, there are many ways, but the best way is just to follow us on socials. So that's the BKStravel on Instagram or Best Kept Secrets Travel on YouTube and all podcast platforms.
Also, if you didn't know this, if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, for every 100 subscribers on YouTube, we're going to plant a tree in a National Trust site in the UK. And if for every 50 downloads on our podcast channels, we're planting a tree in one of our favourite countries around the world. And already we've planted trees all throughout the National Trust, the Amazon and Tanzania. So Morgan, I haven't been to Budapest. Have you been to Budapest?
No.
Neither of us have been to Budapest, so this is us actually doing a bunch of research into Budapest, talking about the history, certain things that we might like to do when we finally get to go, and then we'll do a follow-up episode as well about the things which we've done and how many things on our research list now that we've actually done in the future.
And I've actually tried to go to Budapest twice in the last year.
Because of lockdown, it's
Because
stopped
of lockdown and COVID, each time it has stopped it and not made it possible, and I am desperate to visit Budapest.
Oh, I'd love to go to Budapest. I've heard the beer is really cheap.
Yeah, the beer, yes.
That is it. No, I'm joking. It
That
looks
is
like
it.
it's
Episode over. Roll
Yeah.
the outro.
Woo!
Let's very quickly talk about the history of Budapest.
So, Budapest is the capital of Hungary. It was created in 1873 by a merger of three cities, Buda
Oh, Buda.
and Pest. It is the administrative, scientific, economic, and trade and transportation centre with about 2 million people.
The town spreads on the banks of the River Danube and is administratively divided into 23 districts, 16 of which are located on the Pest side, 6 in the Buda, and 1 on Sespel Island in Danube. Buda extends to the hills on the west bank of the Danube, and the Pest is on the left bank of the river in the lowlands.
In Buda, there's a 235-metre tall hill called Gelet Hegi. It rises from the riverbank and offers a remarkable view of the whole city of Budapest.
There are 7 bridges and 2 railway bridges in Budapest, except for one bridge, Erzsébet. All the bridges were destroyed during the Second World War, have been restored to their original style.
By the end of World War II, between 1949 and 1989, Hungary was part of the Soviet sphere of influence and the Warsaw Pact.
Anti-communist and anti-Soviet rebellion occurred in 1956. The revolt was brutally suppressed, and the then Prime Minister Imre Nagy was sentenced to death. Major changes in the political life of Hungary occurred at the end of 1989. Greater freedom in organising and political action. Agreement on the withdrawal of the Soviet army was signed, and the state changed its name to the Republic of Hungary. Communists lost the power, and Hungary became a member of the NATO and the European Union.
So, Morgan, if you're a tourist and you're wondering how long you can go to holiday,
Go to holiday.
go on a holiday
Go on a holiday.
in Budapest or somewhere in Hungary, how long can you go for without having to get a visa?
So, as it's part of the European Union and the Schengen area, you can go for any 90 days within a 180-day period, and you can do that without a visa.
Means you can do a nice long holiday in Budapest or the rest of Hungary. Might be a bit long doing 90 days in Budapest.
Well, you could do like a weekend away every 4 days for 180 days, except there aren't weekends that frequently. But it works.
No, weekends every week.
Not every 4 days, though.
Once a week.
What is the currency in Hungary, William?
So the Hungarian forint
Ooh.
is, in the currency exchange, it is £1 is equal to 414 Hungarian forints.
414. As at when? Today.
Yeah, today, Morgan. Yes, today. The day of filming.
Yes.
Which we're not going to tell you that date because then you'll know our schedule.
We're not going to tell you the 15th of August 2021.
At 3:20 in the afternoon. Shows how far we pre-plan these videos.
Next is one of our favourite parts, and I know we're excellent at this. And
This is where we get blacklisted from every country. We disrespect cultures accidentally just due to our lack of ability. We are not linguists in any way.
we're English, but I disagree on that because we're trying.
Yeah, we're trying whilst murdering the language.
It's a serious attempt to try. It's just we're using Google Translate and we're not particularly good at it.
So Morgan, can you tell me how to say "Do you want to dance"?
Yeah, easily.
Go on then.
Easily. Akaz tankolinni.
Oh, beautiful. Yes, I would.
Oh,
I'd love
what is
to.
yes? Have we got yes?
No.
So, Will, what is hello?
See ya.
See ya.
See ya.
Isn't that goodbye?
See ya is hello in Hungarian.
See, this is like
See ya.
in Albania where nodding means yes, but nodding also means no. So see
Is
ya.
it nod once and nod twice?
It's just yes and no.
And off the recommendation and feedback of a lot of our viewers and listeners,
We got rid of Will for this episode. No? Was that not the feedback?
no, it was that we needed an improvement to our audio. And ironically, on the day that we've got the way better microphones in, the preamps in, taller stands so we can stand up
dynamite.
straighter, there's an earthquake. So we've improved our camera quality using a different camera. Now we've changed the audio, and we're doing this all whilst having an earthquake.
Who's winning? Who do you back?
Earth.
Earth. Don't know how much Earth is above us.
Back to the language, Morgan. So how do you say you're a great dancer?
So this is nothing anyone would ever say to you, but it's Nagyon Yol Tankols.
What? My dad dancing is top quality, Morgan.
Is it? Is it?
Yeah.
What's your favourite dance move?
The dad dance. It encompasses all
All dance.
dance, just to a poor quality level.
My favourite thing about dad dancing is it's sort of a low calorie burning exercise. You can keep going for quite a while because it's not always.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly.
Right, back to the language.
How do you say cheers?
Geshedagra?
Makes total sense to
Yeah,
me.
it seems a lot easier just to say cheers. Hungary, if you're listening, and obviously your whole embassy is watching this episode of our podcast, we recommend that you change your language to shorten cheers to cheers. Because saying Ageshegadre doesn't really go that well when you're just throwing a few pints in the air.
Kusanum
Yes.
is thank you. I'm hoping. That is what I back myself with that. You got to be confident.
yeah.
Kusanum.
Yeah, we back ourselves when we slaughter thousands of years of development of a language.
And how would you say the most important phrase? So this one you must be fluent at.
Meni egi so.
What are you doing with your arms?
Demanding, how much is a beer? Meni egi so. It's like saying my leg's sore, but...
Make he fat like eggy litabra.
But last but not least, may I buy you something to drink? This is Morgan's classic chat-up line when
Yes.
he's in Budapest.
And the line is Meg he fat like eggy italiera.
Sounds perfect.
I practice that all the
Yes,
time.
you can buy me a drink.
Here you go.
As Morgan and I like to always say, when you're on a city break with your gear and packing list, you don't really need to pack too much unless you think that you're going to go for an outer city excursion where you might need the likes of walking boots or waterproofs or things like that. Whereas as a city break, we do recommend, as the classic BKS saying goes, just pack one bag.
Maniac.
Yeah, so just try and pack one bag for your travels and make it a carry-on luggage, because that's going to reduce your time wasted in the airport. It's going to make your whole holiday cheaper as well. And that is a classic best-kept secret.
So if we
From
go...
one of our earliest episodes.
Yeah, it is. But if we go through a few items, so would you take a water bottle?
Yes.
Would you take a roll mat?
No.
Sleeping bag?
Depends where I'm staying.
Beanie hat?
Depends time of the year.
Swimming trunks?
Yeah, I think swimming trunks are a very universal thing.
What kind of towel?
Very quick drying athletics towel, because
So
it gets down microfiber. Yeah, gets down to a small size. Always better.
How many pairs of shoes?
1 max 2.
Wait, 1 maximum 2?
I would try and take 1 pair, but I would take no more than 2 pairs.
Okay.
Depends how long I'm going for. Even if I went for a week, I'd try and keep it no more than 2 pairs.
Yeah, because I guess it just depends also what you're doing.
Yeah.
As well. Like whether you're going somewhere that you may need smarter. I don't think there are many bars that you'd sort of look at where you would need like really smart clothes. So you could probably get away with 1 pair. But you also, they need to be comfortable enough to walk in.
Yeah.
So I probably wouldn't bring my high heels.
Wouldn't you?
No.
Oh,
not-
that'd be my first thing I'd wear.
Also, the cobbled stones.
But high heels are great for cobblestones.
Reminds me of Rome. Even
Morgan,
though...
this sounds like you've worn high heels on cobblestones.
No, I was wearing...
No, we're going to leave that chapter there.
I was wearing Chelsea
End of the
boots
gear
and
and
I was
packing.
slipping over.
Yeah, Morgan wore high heels when we went to Rome, down all the cobbled streets.
Would you bring your thong?
Yes, I'd bring my sandals.
Flip-flops?
No, not necessarily. I actually don't know if I would.
No.
They're a good
not.
second pair of shoes, but
Because they're
for
quite
certain
small
things
and
they're
easy to
really
pack,
not
but-
needed.
Yeah. And I believe, and because obviously Buddhas, there's quite a few hills.
Yeah,
Flip-flops are not great for walking up hills.
they're not.
No.
They're not. Definitely not. Right, so we're going to go on to local
Will's
foods
favourite.
and drinks. Oh, I do like a bit of food and do like a drink. So
It's good for survival.
it does help to survive having food and drink. That is why you're
Best
definitely not
kept
wrong.
secret.
Best kept secret. Eat and drink to survive. So to start off with, we have Laños. For classic comfort food on the go, pick up a Laños, a deep-fried doughy flatbread, and slathered with sour cream and grated cheese, or with a garlicky butter, or all of the above. That does sound really good. That
Does
sounds
sound
like a
good.
nice garlic bread.
And when you it does, and when you say it, it also sounds like lanyard.
I'm assuming it's Laños. It's
It could be,
Langos. We're great with language. It's got to be right.
makes sense.
You can buy this all over the city. So that's basically telling me, to anyone who likes a night out, because we know the beers are cheap there, the alcohol's generally cheap. And then at the end of the night, you can go and buy a load of Laños, which is basically garlic bread everywhere. That
Post
sounds like a
night-out food.
pretty good night out to most people I know.
I think I'd enjoy that too.
Best kept secret, Budapest, best night out. Excess Laños.
And now this is a very famous, I was about to say item of food. This is a very famous local food from Hungary, and it's goulash. Hungary's national dish.
Goulash!
Hungary's national dish tends to be served as a stew in most parts of the world, but as authentic goulash, it's actually a thin broth made from chunks of beef cooked with onions, paprika, tomatoes, and pepper. It's usually served with fresh white bread. I wonder if it goes with langos.
With Laños.
Leños. With fresh white bread and chopped hot paprika on the side. It's traditionally a peasant dish and was originally cooked by herdsmen in cast iron bog rack cauldrons over open fires.
But you see that nowadays. You see a lot of different really popular food and drinks. So goulash is It's one of these dishes. I couldn't tell you if I've had it, but I feel like I have had it, just because it's the combination of lots of different pieces of meat, bit of veg in there, and then all boiled together. It's just like having a casserole or something.
It's something that you could definitely almost eat by accident in a buffet somewhere.
And then they say it's a peasant dish, which it's funny how now it's actually quite a big thing. And it's the same as if you look at Cornish pasties. The whole story behind a Cornish pasty, like once upon a time, was they would put together to be the perfect miner's food. Because you got all of your nutrients into one tiny portable thing, and they could just send them down the mines in brown bags. It's funny how all these like stereotypically peasant or lower class foods have now become more and more popular throughout all different socioeconomic groups.
Cheap, convenient, and tasty.
Exactly. Cost benefit analysis.
Would you go to a milk bar?
I actually don't know how I want to answer this question. Would I go to a milk
seeing
bar?
as we're moving on to Unicum later.
I'm going to say yes, I'll go to a milk bar. I actually, honestly, anyone watching or listening to this, I've no idea what he's about to say.
Well, no, you're about to say it. It's the next one.
Oh, it's the next one. So a milk bar, as unusual as it sounds, drinking milk in dedicated milk bars is a tradition in Budapest. Okay, I do love milk. This is already sounding amazing right now. I used to drink copious amounts of milk when we were at college. Right, we're going to crack on. Let's see if this starts to get weird. Milk bars open early enough to welcome locals who are stopping by for a quick drink and a breakfast pastry on the way to work or school. Okay, it's still sounding okay. Don't need to waste any space in the stomach for breakfast pastries, but just have more milk. What were these milk bars like 100 years ago? Imagine a nice and... This bit of me. Imagine a nice, cosy bar with a good atmosphere, mostly selling products which contain milk. That's not a surprise, is it? But of course, other foods and drinks were also available. The guests of these bars, the simple society of Budapest, mostly workers and families with children. The prices were low and you could drink enough without paying a small fortune.
So you can go clubbing with your family at a milk
Drinking
bar.
milk.
Yeah, drinking milk.
Drinking milk. Is that when you just go, you like see a lady across the room and you stride over and it's like, can I buy you a drink? And she's like, yeah, you can. And he's like, what'd you like? Semi-skimmed or whole milk? That's the conversation.
That's the line.
Yeah. Or actually, no, now it's 2021. It's a bit different. So that's what back in the day.
Do you have soy?
He's like, semi-skim, whole? Or are you a sort of soy or almond kind of girl? Is that the way that we'd go about it?
I think that must be how it works. It must be like a bar where people go and pick
I'm
girls up.
lactose intolerant.
Oh dear. Moving on. Chicken paprikash. One of the most famous and beloved Hungarian dishes is chicken paprikash.
Now that sounds like my kind of food.
And guess what it has in it? What are the ingredients?
Beef.
I'd expect that from me. I didn't really expect that from you.
It sounds like he's got chicken and paprika in it.
So it's a vegan dish, and so yes, it's
actually made by chickens.
now that would be cool.
So it sounds like chicken and paprika.
That would be a very cool USP. So yes, it's chicken and flavorful, creamy paprika, and it's just basically mixed together, and that is basically the dish. It's very simple, very tasty, and very popular.
Maybe we'll do a mini. Maybe we'll do a mini cooking series. We've been talking about this, and maybe that'll be one of our first dishes we do, because that sounds pretty good.
Weren't you going to make slotki?
Oh yeah, that was in our episode. So actually, if you're watching or listening now and you think you like us, Morgan and I were thinking of maybe doing some more camping trips. And whenever we go out and we do these more sort of exploring camping trips, how about we do a mini series of cooking, but it all has to be done on a really tiny burner, old school camping trangia, and then we have to try and make different dishes from around the world. No.
Okay, fair enough.
Going minuscule. Bring it down.
Minuscule. So we're trying our best not to get food poisoning.
Well, that happens at any stage of cooking, but yes.
Oh, completely.
Sounds just like one of the worst pairs of shoes in the world, but it's a drink. This is Frocks.
The feet shoes. No? They're really, no?
Frocks is one of the simplest and most wonderful drinks to have on a hot day. It's basically wine mixed with soda water. It already sounds disgusting.
To me, that just sounds like a teenager's alcoholic drink, but don't drink underage, so like 18, 19.
Wine mixed with soda water. To be honest, okay, if it was white wine, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it's the red bit.
But I couldn't really imagine, yeah. Welcome to your Bordeaux and
just
soda water.
Letting it breathe, and then you're just shoving soda water in it.
Okay, that's just ruining wine. Whoever thought of that must have really needed to make their wine stretch out further. No, anyway, there are many versions of frocks with different names depending on the wine to soda ratio.
Oh.
I say they do different ratios. Oh, it's getting worse. Yeah, hungry. I wouldn't.
Will's not a fan.
No, remove that from your country, please.
So the next thing we're going to talk about is Palinka. Palinka is probably one of the most...
Is it not Palinka Alinka?
No.
It says Palinka.
It's meant to be
Alinka.
Palinka dash. Palinka is one of the most... My typing is fantastic.
Beautiful.
Palinka is one of the most well-known Hungarian alcoholic drinks. That's it.
Oh, nice.
That's it.
Next page.
It's a strong shot which is traditionally distilled from different kinds of fruits, so plums, pears, peaches, cherries, grapes, etc. I assume they're all locally grown
Must
fruits,
be.
probably. Palinka is traditionally enjoyed before eating to help with your appetite and at the end of the meal to aid digestion. Makes total sense to me.
Sounds beautiful.
Right, I'm going to pass me a couple glasses.
This is Morgan's attempt of a lovely, refreshing beverage for us. So, do you need these?
Yep.
Do you know how much? What's your ratio here, Morgan?
So my ratio is that.
So, Morgan's using Malbec from Argentina, which you know. It's nice to know he's sourcing wines which represent the country that we're doing.
Yeah, this is a very Hungarian wine, which is why I
can
didn't.
smell that cheap wine.
No, we're letting it air. Let it breathe. Yeah,
Right, Morgan.
very viscous.
Yeah.
And then we're going 2 parts wine. Is this hurting you?
Whilst Morgan's doing this, I'm just going to quickly read out the description. No, that isn't a typo. Cola wine is exactly what the name suggests. It's a mad scientist mix of cola and wine that's gained popularity in Hungary. Why? We haven't the foggiest, but don't resist. You might be a little bit surprised. Okay.
Do you think you're going to be surprised?
No, not at all.
Are you
not
excited about this?
Yeah, I'm absolutely buzzing.
Okay, which are you more excited to drink, the cola wine or the Unicum?
Cola wine. So, just like we learned earlier, really casual. Instead of cheers, we go. I guess
yeah. You're surprised.
I'm pleasantly surprised.
You're pleasantly surprised. That weirdly works. I mean, I wouldn't want to put a Bordeaux in with some Coke.
No, I wouldn't go for something really killer. I wouldn't go for heavy Bordeaux Burgundy or like a super Tuscan. I think it'd knock your socks off. But to transform a really, I mean, you know, we're not going to say the brand of it because they haven't sponsored us this episode. But yeah,
Pleasantly surprised.
yeah, it's Fesco's Tinest. Malbec, Argentinian, vintage 2020.
See, I'd probably say this is possibly a lighter way to drink red wine in the sun.
Yeah, I feel like I recognise the taste of it.
Or is that just the red wine?
Oh, might be. Anyway, that's going to make this episode a bit
A
lighter.
bit more merry. So just very quickly, because you weren't very excited about this, would you recommend?
You know what? I'll update you later on in the episode. So, keep watching the episode. Also, if you're watching us on YouTube, scroll down just below the video and about down here, below my hand now. Go down, click subscribe or that notification bell, because that's going to subscribe for you. If you download every other episode on our podcast and you get 2 or maybe 3 other friends to do so, then just combined between you as a group of mates, you have planted a tree somewhere around the world. And we'll be doing a tree count very shortly, because we've actually had a massive jump up in our downloads recently and our subscribers. So this, get in now, so you can say when this channel hits 1 million, I was one of their original fans. I planted one of the first trees, because our long-term target for this channel is to plant as many trees as possible.
To live in a tree house.
If we get over 1 million views on this episode, Morgan and I will live in a tree house for a year. 1 million views on this episode.
Makes sense.
Within the first year of it launching.
Ooh. What country would you want to live in a tree house?
London. I was so baiting you in there. I didn't expect an instant reaction. I thought I was waiting for your cocks to turn. I'm going to slowly break Morgan this episode. Right, whilst we're drinking this cola wine, which is, absolutely delightful and making it a little bit more merry, we are going to drink, not a full glass, we'll do part of a shot because it doesn't look that appetizing. We've got a tiny shot glass there. We have Unicum from Budapest. So, as Morgan's holding in front of the camera now, this is Unicum. After a long day sightseeing in Budapest, take a sip of Budapest's locally made herbal liqueur. Unicum is basically Hungary's version of Jägermeister, and it's said to cure many things. The potent concoction has been made here for over a century, according to a secret formula of more than 40 herbs and aged in oak casks. Visit the Unicum factory. Unicum's a unique liquor whose recipe is closely guarded by family secret. The herbal concoction is supposed to be a great digestive with some health properties. And what's interesting about this Hungarian liqueur is its unique history and its story intertwined with the Zak family. The Unicum factory and museum is fascinating, since you've not only got a glimpse into how this enigmatic drink is made, complete with a taste, but you also learn so much about the country's history through the eyes of uniquely Hungarian drink. All I'm going to say is I'm going to try the tiniest bit, because if it's anything like Jägermeister and it's got an aniseed base, then you're going to be seeing the output of this cola wine from my body. Morgan, I don't even need to pre-smell it.
So this is something that I'd really like to do.
Genuine tiniest bit, because, I sip it anyway.
Because it's similar, I think, to going and doing the Guinness factory tour.
Yeah,
yeah. So I have been pre-warned that apparently this is... I do not enjoy the smell.
We should have saved this for one of our food and drink episodes.
We can drink it again.
I don't need to drink it again. I don't even need to smell it again. Hungry, I'm going to be honest, this isn't...
I like the cola wine.
This isn't a great push of marketing.
No? Cheers.
So... I almost vomited then. That's vile.
So that is a very...
Oh.
There's a very herbally smell.
It's like Jägermeister from concentrate.
Yeah. But very, very strong concentrated taste that seems to give Will the shivers.
Yeah, it's broken me.
Will's now... He was trying to break me this episode, now I've broken him.
Okay, whilst that slightly tries to settle, we're going to move on to our next food, which is a type of sausage from Hungary, otherwise known as kolbász. Kolbász is the catch...
Does it have to be said with the accent?
It is with kolbász. No, not in Russian. Kolbász is the catch-all term for Hungarian sausage, and there are many different varieties on offer that are served cooked, boiled, cured, and smoked. Don't leave without sampling kazby. Kolbász is a spicy sausage flavoured with paprika, Gulai kolbas, a beach wood smoked sausage from the town of Gulai. Oh, I'm slaughtering these words, but oh well. Majas Herka, a boiled liver sausage. That sounds absolutely
I'm sure
probably
it goes well
better
with
than the Unicum. Right, we're going to make this stuff disappear.
Yeah.
That was so out of time. Yeah, it's going to disappear now.
So, Will,
So, Morgan.
the next thing we're going to talk about is the breakdown of some of the costs. How much or what is the average price of a beer?
So the average price of a beer is 500 foreign, otherwise known as £1.22. Which, okay, that's
That's cheap.
good cheap beer.
And bear in mind that's the average for the capital city. So you'd expect the capital city to be more expensive.
So you'll
than the
find
rest of the
some,
country.
yeah, that's taken into account some expensive locations. So I think we could find some cheap beers.
Lots of beers will be drunk. What is the average cost of a hostel, do you think?
I don't think I know. It's roughly £6 a night, which that's
Ooh.
not too bad.
That's quite cheap for Europe. 'Cause
Yeah.
bear in mind, this is still in Europe. If you go to somewhere in Vietnam, it's like £2-3.
And that includes dinner in a bit.
Yeah,
And your laundry. And
yeah, but in Europe, that's pretty cheap.
yeah, £6 a night. It's not bad at all. Do a nice week-long holiday just with your accommodation less than £50.
And I think another thing, if you are spending some time there, is actually travelling around the city. When metro is quite often, when there's a good metro system, that is definitely the cheapest way to get there. So how much is like a monthly metro ticket?
So in Budapest is 3,450 Hungarian forint, which is the equivalent of £8.45. That's definitely one of the cheapest tickets that you can get in the city. Using
That's for a month.
a month for £8.45 is unbelievably cheap. Imagine being able to get that in
A
London.
day pass in Newcastle is about
That's just
£3
like
or £4.
one trip on the tube.
Yeah. That's ridiculously cheap.
That's
So even if you're
Just
not
to travel
going,
around.
even if you're not going for a month, that is worth probably
A
getting.
London black cab starts with that price in the meter before you've even gone 10 metres.
Wow.
That's cheap.
That is.
So you've got £6 a night plus £8.45. So once you're in Budapest, £8
Plus cheap
45 plus, let's say, a week staying in a hostel, that's at £42.
maths.
So let's basically say for £50, you've got your actual travel around town plus your accommodation sorted for a week.
And I'm sure you can get lots of goulash with that.
Yeah, and then you go to Budapest for a week for like £100.
Ew.
Well,
Is that a challenge?
Do we go to Budapest for a week for £100?
Oh.
Actually, wait, no. If we're including flights,
No, that'd be Would we, if we did excluding flight? Could we include flights?
I don't know. Drop a comment below or message us on Instagram or one of our other platforms saying you want us to take up the challenge.
Or just text Will.
So other than taking the metro around the city, one of the best things that you can always do in a lot of cities, and I love doing it in London, is just trying to walk. If you walk, then you see so many amazing things which actually don't have a nearby tube or tram station. So, you get the thermal baths, you get the different restaurants and bars, the different sights to see, the different parts of history and historic town, which you really won't see on other modes of transport.
Well, yeah, it gives you more of a chance to actually go and explore and take wrong routes
And
down
take it
dark
in.
alleyways by accident and just bumping into weird and interesting places.
Exactly. And also, I think if you're on a train, then you can go past something and think it looks amazing and say, oh, I saw this. But if you're walking past it, you know that you're taking a lot longer. You actually get to take it in properly. You get to see it. And I think that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, and it's great for just finding little hidden gems, like little restaurants, little bars, which, especially around Budapest, there are lots of them which you're just not everyone's going to be able to tell you, right, you should go to this bar. So Budapest also has a bicycle sharing system, which is really cool. And if you don't want to walk, a slightly faster way to do it is to ride a bike, but you still get all the same freedoms.
So is it a bit like a Boris biker or
bit
or
like
the
a
city
Barclays
bike?
or
Yeah.
a City's bike or Boris bike.
City bikes are in New York.
Okay, a bit like that. And you get all the same freedoms that you get with walking, but it's slightly quicker. It's also not free, but it's not very expensive. And there's over 140 docking stations and 1,800 bikes all around the city that you can just use and explore. And the Széchenyi thermal baths, because it sounds like that, is one of the further distances away, and it's a really interesting place to go and see. And that's still only a 40-minute walk from downtown. So if you take one of these bikes, it'll be half the time.
Just like in Paris and now sweeping across a lot of the United Kingdom, you've got Lime scooters, made their first impact in Budapest in 2019. So they're really cheap, cost-effective way of scootering around. And one of the best things I can say is if you've never taken a Lime scooter before, and even this works for Paris and as well the UK, download the app, and normally your first few journeys are really cheap, sometimes up to 50% off, or they actually cap out the price of your first journey on it for up to an hour.
Scooters is definitely one of my favourite ways to explore a city because it's as fast as a bike, if not slightly faster, but it's less tiring. And it's a really easy way to go and explore. But the one thing you've always got to remember with all these scooters is you need to make sure that when you do park it, you park it in one of the parking zones. Don't park it in one of the areas where you can't park, because then you'll get fines, and that's where...
They've tried to increase this policy in a lot of cities because there are huge problems in... I think they counted something ridiculous when I was last in Paris, like 12,000 scooters across Paris, and it became like rubbish on the side of a road in a sense. They were just... You couldn't go along the pavement without there being 5 scooters along it.
Yeah, just on the floor, thrown...
Or just anywhere, yeah. And then it stops, wheeled, like anything like simple, like wheelchair access. So, yeah, think about where you put your scooter.
Now some quick random facts about Budapest.
Let's go!
Budapest was the result of a merger of 3 cities, which we spoke about earlier. Can you remember the 3 cities? Can you?
Buda, Uda and Pest?
Pretty much. Buda.
Buda.
And this happened on the 17th of November, 1873, when the 3 neighbouring cities, Pest, Buda and Buda, united. The unification was an extremely important historic event that led to rapid development of the city.
Budapest even has a train run by children. Did you know? I know. Did you know that Budapest has a train that is run almost entirely by children? Not many visitors in Budapest know this about this train. The
That's
Children's
even more
Railway
scary.
was started after World War II as a training ground for communist kids after a model introduced in the former Soviet Union in the 1940s. Children between the age of 10 and 14 can complete a 4-month training course to become a train conductor.
So we could stop the earthquake kids and make them go and become train conductors.
Exactly. They can also become workers and inspectors on this 11-kilometre railway.
Wow.
Except for the station master and train drivers. There we are.
There we are.
Adults. All the other jobs are performed by children.
That's really cool.
That's ridiculous.
In Hungary, there is a naming law when it comes to choosing the name of your children. The name must come from a pre-approved list, and any deviations must be approved by application to the Research Institute of Linguistics. So that means there's no Norths or Brooklyns in Hungary.
Nope.
That is a really strange rule, especially to still have.
Sounds a bit communist to me. Little remnants of Soviet there, aren't there?
So I wonder if you have to sort of apply for this, like how quickly the application process is, because lots of people sort of have names in their head, but they don't know the gender of the child.
Yeah, this is very communist. Hungary, you need to now get rid of Unicum. This cola wine's okay, but this name regulating law. Like we couldn't have, Elon Musk's ones where it's like 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, he could barely have that name.
Everything else.
He could barely have that name anyway. At one point, they didn't want that name.
But it's let the parents decide.
Exactly.
Or every single child just like if you're a boy, you name one name. If you're a girl, you name the other.
Yeah, everyone's called Georgia or James.
Imagine that. Hi, welcome to this episode of Best Kept Secrets Travel. I'm James.
I didn't even mean for that name to come out.
Moving on swiftly, paprika was invented in Budapest. Legend says Hungarians eat more than 500 grams of paprika per year. That is actually a lot of paprika.
That is a lot of paprika. Oh, it must be on almost every meal. I mean, from the local foods we've spoken about, it pretty much is on every food we've spoken about. So, how lovely. Did you know the inventor of the famous Rubik's Cube was born in Budapest?
I did.
Because you read it?
No, I actually didn't know.
Oh, fantastic. Do you know his name?
Rubik's.
And the first name?
Cube.
It's from the pre-approved list.
Is it? James Rubik's.
Georgia. Erno Rubik's was born on 13th of July 1944 in Budapest.
Tallest buildings in Budapest are St. Stephen's Basilica and the Parliament. Both are 96 metres tall. No building in Budapest can be taller than 96 metres tall because they're communist. As this was the year Hungary was founded in 1896.
Maybe Will's not coming to Budapest.
They regulate the height of their buildings.
As well as the names.
Based on the fact it was founded in 1896. They should increase it now to 1,896 metres.
Just by accident.
Just so that they can build, double the Burj Khalifa.
That would be cool.
96 metres? That's not tall as a building.
No. Beneath the city of Budapest lies a subterranean world, a maze of over 200 caverns and tunnels. The caverns are a result of a large number of geothermal springs in the area from thermal activity.
That's why there are loads of baths.
Yeah.
All the big bath spas.
Well, I mean, we have loads of baths, but they're just different.
Breathe, Will, breathe. So, one of the oldest zoos in the world is in Budapest. Did you know that, Morgan?
I did.
Because you wrote the script for this episode. Mm-hmm. So, it opened in the year 1865, which means that in the zoo, they've actually regulated that they're only allowed up to 1,865 animals in the zoo. Just to test that, Morgan, because I thought with their communist minds, they would have gone with that. Apart from animals, the zoo also features several art buildings and structures, such as Elephant House, the Palm House, etc.
Count Dracula, do you know who that is?
Yeah, he's my butcher.
As legend would have it, he was tortured for 14 years in Budapest. And you can actually go and visit the place where he was 100% tortured.
They remove his fangs.
They have done now, yes.
Was he battered? Could they count his fangs?
Now let's do a breakdown of the best things to go and see in Budapest. The first thing we're going to talk about is Margaret Island. Margaret Island is a 2.5 kilometre long island which sits in the middle of the Danube, which is covered in parkland and recreational facilities. A rubber-coated 5 kilometre running track encircles the island because, as you know, Will, we're great at going running on
we're athletes, Morgan. We are, we did do a 10 kilometre run in Australia, so go back to our deep dive into Australia and you'll hear all about that run.
And it's a popular jogging spot, unsurprisingly, for runners because that's what it's for, who want to get away from the hustle and bustle of the city. One of the most famous features of the island is the music fountain, which water regularly dances in time to classical music. It's just get you pumped for your run.
Yeah, exactly. So you do a little bit of classical dancing. That's not really classical dancing, but that's more jazz hands.
Yeah.
Before you run, you go, you guys ready for the half marathon today?
Yeah,
we're super ready.
Drink over.
Yeah. Have a little bit of cola wine before you run. Relaxes the muscles. But did you know in the Danube Promenade, this stretch of Danube walkway goes from Elizabeth Bridge to the Chain Bridge, and it is perfect for those who want a short but interesting walk. Shoes on the Danube Bank is a solemn World War II memorial in artistic form. You can find this assortment of cast iron shoes along the east bank of Danube. The sculptures of scattered men's and women's shoes represent the Jewish victims who were ordered to take off their shoes before they were shot by fascist militias. That's quite heavy.
That is very heavy. This episode has taken a bit of a turn. But I think it's definitely something that's really interesting to go and see in these cities as British people where we haven't necessarily been taught the specific histories to do with certain other countries because it's not on our syllabus. So I found it very interesting learning about Albania when I was there recently, and I think it would be very interesting to hear the stories of what happened more in Budapest and learn more about it.
I quite like it when they do memorials like that, where they have a, where you sort of go up to it and you think, oh, I wonder what that is, or like you slightly make some comments about it and you really don't know what it is, and then you read it and it like sort of hits you and takes you back and you go, I almost saw there, but it makes you like suddenly think like, beep. I didn't realise what that was.
Yeah, it really makes you more intrigued.
I think it actually makes you like want to read more about it as well.
I think probably as children, it's probably a more interesting thing to see than a straight up memorial, because it, as you say, it sort of increases intrigue and
instead of just
a
wall with a few names on it, I think it's names and you think, oh, that's a lot of people, but I think when you represent something as simple as like shoes on the ground, it sounds really simple, but everyone can relate to, we can all relate to wearing shoes, and then you start to think, actually no, there really was someone here in this place, and
where
just like us.
Atrocities happened.
Now, on to more positive things.
The House of Terror. So the House of Terror holds exhibitions about the successive fascist and communist regimes which ruled Hungary during the 20th century. The building itself was the former headquarters of the fascist Arrow Cross Party, and the building was subsequently used as a prison and torture venue by the State Security Services of Hungary. There is an opportunity to tour some of the prison area in the basement, where nothing bad ever happens. The exhibition includes information about both regimes, as well as testimonials from some of the victims, as well as exhibitions about the fascist and communist security services. The building often houses other temporary exhibitions as well, so that we didn't really get happier after that.
No.
But I think, it's a very interesting and good thing to go see.
And now more upbeat. Check out the views from the top of St. Stephen's Cathedral. Once you've delighted your taste buds with ice cream, delight your eyeballs with a 360-degree view over the city from the top of St. Stephen's Cathedral. It costs just a couple of euros to get in there, and head up to the viewing platform for a few more euros if you want to go inside the cathedral itself.
Did you know Budapest has the largest synagogue in Europe?
I genuinely wouldn't have guessed that.
This synagogue is currently one of the largest in the world outside of Israel, despite the fact that a lot of Hungary's Jewish population was significantly depleted during World War II. So it's really interesting to know that it's still there. And again, with the history, it's very, very important to go see these things and learn more about them.
I concur. Fisherman's Bastion viewpoint. One of the best views of Budapest is from the lookout at Fisherman's Bastion. Originally, the towers were lookout towers, but now it's the best lookout in the whole of Budapest. That doesn't surprise me at all, because you would have wanted the best vantage point of lookout to be the best view over the city.
Makes sense. I wonder how high it is.
I wonder how high it is as well. Probably a max of 96 metres. There are 7 towers that are free to enter. Some of the upper towers have a small fee, just under €3. During peak season. When you're visiting Matthias Church, walk around the balcony to reach the Fisherman's Bastion.
So this I'd definitely say is a best kept secret, and I like things like this where you get to sort of, you're just walking around and exploring, and it's normally the sort of thing that you sort of turn up to by accident. Yeah.
Or you get nudged, like, oh yeah, or you see people coming and you think, oh, I wonder where they're from.
Yeah, and you just basically in every city you try and go to and try and find the best view of the city or the highest viewpoint, and this is that for Budapest. Now we'll go for a breakdown of the best activities in Budapest.
Number 1 of the best things to do in Budapest is Gelet Bath. It's one of the grandest spas in the whole of the city, which includes an open-air pool, which does also turn into a wave pool. I do like a cheeky wave pool, not going to lie. A Finnish sauna and a range of other saunas and plunge pools.
Fantastic. This is really well written. Next on the list is the Buda Hills, one of the greenest areas of the city, and are very popular with the Budapest citizens who want to take a little time away from the Budapest life. So it's a bit like going for a walk up Box Hill National Trust site, coming out of London.
Let's go see. We're on a National Trust episode.
Yeah, that was 2 episodes ago, episode 10.
Exactly. Everyone needs to go back to that and watch it.
And there are various hiking trails that you can follow and mountain bike paths which range from easy to medium level difficulty.
Sounds nice.
Sounds fantastic.
So why wouldn't you go to Budapest and go caving under the city? It is definitely...
You don't like small places.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Go anyway and push past your fears, because that's one of the episodes that will be coming up in the future. So, caving in Budapest, there's an amazing network underneath it. Several large cave systems, as ragstone is quite typical rock in this area. You can go underground the hilly Buda with a guided tour where you'll get a suit and a helmet and you'll crawl through narrow routes and explore some of the caves. I think that sounds like awesome.
Yeah, have you done much caving before?
I've gone into a lot of caves, but not sort of, full on, you're crawling around going through it. It's been... So, for example, in Ireland, there's amazing cave systems all over Ireland, and you see one of the largest stalactites in the world. But all of that's now quite structured because of all the safety and regulation around that.
Yeah.
Whereas I think Wales, you can do a lot of proper caving.
So I've done proper caving in Wales, and I was it was on a rugby trip, and I was with the backs, and I was one of the biggest in the small group. So we were going down the smaller routes rather than where the big people were going. I kept very nearly getting stuck, and it is a very strange feeling when you're underground and you think you can't physically move.
Yeah, I would hate that.
That's why I kind of asked if you'd done it.
I'd hate the feeling of actually thinking I'm stuck.
I think you're too skinny to.
But
get
normally,
stuck,
if you
probably.
get stuck in a yeah, but it's not so much that width; it's the shoulders.
Just
it's a bit of
go with
corset.
your arms up.
Try and fold myself in like a little cheese taco.
Yeah, get some cleavage, and then you're gonna be nice and
get some cleavage.
Oh, it's getting cramped there.
So number 4, Morgan, what do we have on the things to do in Budapest?
The Széchenyi thermal baths.
Oh, beautifully said.
Beautiful. It's the largest medicinal bath centre in Europe. The waters are rich in sulfates, calcium, magnesium, bicarbonate, and fluoride.
And marijuana. Well, you said they were medicinal, didn't you?
Which are believed to help patients with degenerative joint illnesses and other medical issues. Underwater chess.
Now that's my kind of game.
In the Széchenyi baths is not exactly a hidden attraction, but not many people know that bathhouse is home to a number of chess sets. Play against your fellow travellers while submerged in thermal waters, or test your skills against the bath's regular players with a game against the locals. Now that sounds really fun.
That sounds seriously fun.
What was I've mind blank. What's the chess TV show that came out? Queen's Gambit. That was a fantastic show, but
I haven't watched it. That's why I had no idea what.
Yeah, I can imagine her, the main character, in
going
that.
underwater playing chess now.
Yeah.
Okay. So next we have, you can go on an abandoned Jewish cemetery tour. One of the most unique tours in whole of Budapest is the Jewish cemetery tour with Budapest 101. Visit the Szalgotárjányi Cemetery is the oldest Jewish burial ground on the Pest side of the city. Most of the Jewish population was forced out of Budapest during World War II. Therefore, the cemetery turned into ruins. The trees and plants began to take over the city's graveyard. You'll have to watch your step as many of the tombs have sadly fallen through the ground and are opened and looted for any of the goods. Some of the tombstones and burial chambers are massive and really gorgeous, even though that sounds weird, as a headstone is pretty. It's a strange place to visit, but really photogenic. It's not open to the public, but you can go there on a few tours.
Now that sounds really interesting to me because it sounds like it's very pretty, very good for photos, but also there's lots of hidden history and stories that you can learn by going to these places.
It's quite sad that people go and loot a burial ground, but needs must, isn't it?
No. I disagree. Now, breakdown of the best experiences that you can do in Budapest. And now this is probably one of the most famous things and one of the things that most people go to Budapest for, and it is the ruin bars. Now, the ruin bars are famous, or ruin pubs in Budapest, in which shabby chic order of the day. I don't even know what that. The best ruin pubs are set up in sprawling, deserted buildings which have been filled with crazy, comfortable, but slightly worn-out furniture. Popular ruin pubs include Instant, which is the one with the sort of crazy animal pictures, Fogaz Has, which is the one with the teeth, Kuplung, which is the one with the whale, and Slimpa. Slimpa was rated the third best bar in the world. And the first best, and the number one in Budapest. One of the best bars in the world, and this is according to Lonely Planet, is a once derelict space which is now filled with many works of art from junk. And if you want to experience this place without the hordes of tourists, my recommendation is to actually explore the place during the day. You'll also find no shortage of ruin bars, just general. These are just essentially eccentric bars that are set up among old ruins in Budapest's Jewish quarter. Each has its own set of quirky features.
A fun one is the Red Room, which parodies the polemical style of old-school communist propaganda.
Ooh.
You can raise your glass here before pithy puns on pop art versions of murals and posters of the communist era, all set against red brick walls. So would you go to ruin bars?
100%. It wouldn't be the main reason for going because there are so many interesting things that you can do in Budapest, but
They sound pretty cool.
It's something you have to do, and I don't think you necessarily have to plan which one that you go to.
No.
I think you could just walk around.
Go out for dinner somewhere planned and then have a wander and then find a ruin bar.
Yeah, and just come across one. And we've just given some options of some of the more famous ones, but I think it'd be really cool. And it'd be great for pictures as well. Although it'll be dark, which is not great for pictures. But it'll be cheap beer.
Yeah.
And lots of socialising and spending time in front of humans.
Sounds like it'd be great. You said humans if you're a robot. So one of the next best experiences you could do is the Invisible Exhibition.
Can you
Invisible
not see it?
Exhibition. It aims to give visitors the chance to experience what life is for people who are completely blind. A registered blind guide will take you on a tour through various different artificially created environments, for example, a garden, supermarket, bar, etc., which are completely dark rooms. On arrival, you'll be asked to turn off any potential light sources such as mobile phones, digital watches, so that there'll be absolutely no light in the room.
Ooh.
After the exhibition, you can enjoy dinner in the dark, served by blind waiters who will help you find your way around your dinner plate. So that sounds just like, what is it? It's La Noire or something in London, which just the black. But imagine, like, from a business perspective, this is great. This is really cheap to
Saves
set up.
electricity.
So like, you're saving electricity. The room could be dingy as anything.
Yeah.
And then you just, garden, stick some turf down.
I mean, it must be quite tough if they ever do drop some food or plates or you spill a glass of water on the floor.
I've knocked my fork on the floor.
Have you ever experienced pure darkness before?
Yeah.
Where?
Underwater. In caves.
Oh yeah. How deep were you?
One of the caves in Ireland, I think we're about 60 metres underground and just turned off all the lights.
Yeah. So yeah, I've in a cave in Thailand.
Underwater is different because you've got fluorescence as well.
But then pure darkness was when I went on the Urbex tour in Kiev when we were in one of the underground catacombs. And the guy just said, right, let's turn all the lights off. And we turned the lights off and...
It's just dark.
And
also, if you guys, if you're thinking, I really want to experience pure darkness, but I'm not on holiday, can't go on holiday because of COVID or any of this stuff, turn off lights in your bedroom, close all your blinds, get under your duvet and just close your eyes and it's basically the same.
It doesn't feel like it.
It's not the
It's
same
not
at all.
the same at all, no.
It's a weird feeling.
It was a really weird experience, and my friend that I was with, it made me jump because you can't. You're standing literally this far away from someone, and you cannot even see them. And
that's what it's like to be properly registered blind. Then.
yeah, and they turned on as we turned the lights back on. I could just see her hand reaching out, and it was right next to my face because it felt like such a long time, even though it was probably 20 seconds that we were in pure darkness. But you almost lose all sense of everything.
Oh, your other senses. Well, it's more long time to start to heighten. You start trying to listen more and everything.
Exactly. It was a really weird experience, but I would definitely like to go to the Invisible exhibition.
What about the Force wine cellars, though, Morgan?
The Force wine cellars. Now, they are historic wine cellars which are located underneath the Buda Castle and is a perfect place to sample wines from 22 Hungarian wine regions. It's quite a lot of wine regions.
That's a few wine regions.
That's pretty decent. You will also have the opportunity to sample some traditional fruit. You will also have the opportunity to sample some traditional Hungarian fruit palinka. A sommelier will give you tasting notes during your visit so that you can get the most out of each wine you try. So what are your tasting notes for the Merlot and Coke?
Well, the best thing is I've definitely got Coke in there, but also I'm also smart enough to know that it's Malbec and not Merlot because I can read a bottle of wine, Morgan.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So Morgan's also been hit by it. Yeah, Argentinian Malbec, Morgan, 2020.
Ooh,
vintage.
how lovely. So,
Fresco's Finest.
I feel like this is a good time to come back to it. Would you recommend
It's all right.
the cola wine?
I'd recommend it
I quite
if
like
you
it as
had
a summer drink.
if you're at a house party and there was a bottle of red wine and someone has some stupidly reason bought it and you thought this is not the reason time I want to drink it and you thought, oh, we might as well drink it, and you have Coke there, then I'd do that.
Yeah, it's probably easier to drink to get drunk, and I think it's quite a nice summery drink.
Yeah. It's definitely the best time to do it.
Yeah. Fantastic. Now, let's talk about train yards.
Yeah, so there is a train yard in Budapest called Istevantelik.
Fantastic.
You can go slightly off track in Budapest, pardon upon if you please, and stumble upon interesting abandoned sites such as Istevantelik train yard in its final resting place, or rusting place rather, for several historical trains. Artifacts here include the prominent Red Star train that bears a bright red star on the steam engine front.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Makes sense that Red Star train's not got a purple star.
That'd be quite interesting to go and see. I like sort of exploring sort of off the beaten track, not sort of
Stereotypically.
built for tourism.
And it's almost, it's just left there to rust away.
It's very cool.
Hasn't been preserved in a museum. Just keep it recording.
Now we can really start the podcast. Now he's gone. Put a little bit of Unicum in his drink because we know how much he likes that. Oh, that smell. If he doesn't tell, you guys tell me if he can work it out. I will be really intrigued to know. Sorry, Will, if you're watching this now. One of the best things about travelling around Europe is you are so close to so many other cities. So from Budapest, you can do day trips. You can go to Kosice in eastern Slovakia, Bratislava, which I really enjoyed and had a fantastic time there, Vienna, Timisoara. All the neighbouring countries are super close, but we're going to talk about a couple day trips.
Miskolc, a strong contender, is one of the best things for an overnight stay near Budapest.
Ooh.
I know. Lies just a few hours from Budapest in an area surrounded by stunning nature reserves. The city's most famous attraction is the network of thermal baths built into a cave. Though, with the adjacent Buk National Park, picturesque Dishogir Castle and endless forest to hike through, you'll be sport for choice when it comes to sightseeing. That sounds like my kind of place.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. Do you ever think when we're doing these episodes that
When I start reading it, I get excited.
Yeah, but people listening on the podcast are going to be like, that's not a real place. Just because of the way we butcher the words.
It doesn't matter if we're butchering the words. The place still exists and it still sounds amazing. And
It
when we go to
does.
Budapest, we're
We're going to
Miskolc.
Miskolc. So Visegrad is a small town on a tight curve of the Danube Bend. It's a 13th century citadel rising above the town and is definitely worth the intense hike up the rocky woodland path for the views over the bend in the river and the Borzhony Hills beyond. If hiking isn't your thing, we like hiking. Hiking's our thing, but if hiking's not your thing, then you can also take the city bus taxi van service from the ferry pier up to the historic castle of Izigrad, and this is located on the north of Budapest, just over an hour by car. Whilst you can arrive by bus from Újpest to Válaszkapu, which is an hour and 15 minutes, it's much more romantic to travel by boat up the Danube River. And this is about 1 hour by hydrofoil and 3 hours by boat from April to September.
That also sounds amazing.
It does, and I always think if you have time, it is worth looking out for those excursions slightly outside the city that you're visiting, because quite often they are very much best kept
Right
secrets.
on the doorstep of the city, but people are so focused on what's in the city and not just on that teetering edge of it.
And it's worth making that extra little effort to go and experience all this beauty.
Especially if you've got more than, if you're just going for a long weekend, then I would understand just staying in the city.
Possibly.
But if you're going out for, a long weekend to week.
Like a month trip with the student metro pass.
Or a week. Then I could understand going out on one of these day trips. Mid through the week, break up your city trip.
If you had 24 hours to spend in Budapest, what would your top things that you'd see in those 24 hours be?
What would I go and do in 24 hours? To be honest, I'm actually super excited to try some of their food. I think that'd be up there. I'd probably go and try and get a cooking lesson there. If I had 24 hours, I'd try and fit in like an hour-long cooking lesson. Need to do the ruin bars. Need to do a thermal bath.
Thermal bath.
Thermal bath. I'd try. Out of the whole list, there's so many to do. I'll probably go to the towers, the watchtowers.
The watchtowers, yeah.
Because I think that'd be, if you had good weather, because you'd want to try and be flexible, if you had really good weather, I think that'd be up there for a good sunset-esque sunrise.
So you think you could do all of that in a day?
Yeah, easily.
Yeah. So yeah, for me it'd be, I'd want to go see the Invisible Museum.
Really?
Yeah, well...
Invisible Exhibition would be in your top things to do in a day.
Yeah, well, it's a meal. It's a meal that I can have.
Morgan, I could turn the lights out here and just block out all the lights and just stick a
Yeah, but
cheap
there's
table.
a constant earthquake here, which would be a bit off-putting. I would definitely do the tower. Always go and see...
So you've got the exhibition, the tower.
And if I'd try and do a free walking tour, because then you learn a lot about the city. And then end the day with the ruin bars. So if you had 3 days...
And a £6 hostel.
And a £6 hostel. If you had 3 days, what would you extend? What would your next things? Would you try and go more to the edge of the city, to the underground, or
3 days?
The train run by children?
3 days. I'd do similar to what I did in the 24 hours, so I'd fit all of that in. I'd probably do ruin bars every night, or try and do one of those nighttime thermal bath party things.
Yeah.
I'd do children's train. Probably try and go caving.
Yeah, that would be a good activity.
Do one of those. I'd go and see the shoes on the bridge in the promenade. I think you could fit in so much in 3 days. I think you just keep going. I think there'll be amazing galleries and things which we haven't mentioned today. There'll be so much going on. I think it's so easy to go to a city abroad and think, let's just sit down and you just sort of do nothing. You just sit in a bar at midday and you don't do anything.
I'd quite like to go see the Unicum factory. I'd back that it would taste better from the source.
I wouldn't taste... I'm just not even going to comment on what you just said. So you do the Unicum factory, the same stuff which you mentioned before. Would you actually try and fit in one of these day trips like the Miskolc in the middle day?
If I had 3 days, yes. I would probably go to Visegrad because it's a bit closer. And it's easier to do as a day trip, as in hour there, hour back. I would get one of the early buses in the morning, pre-10 o'clock, so I can spend most of my day there and get there before the crowds, and then get the bus back sort of late afternoon before going to a ruin bar in the evening. Probably the Red Room. Red Ruin, I think so.
It's going downhill near the end of the episode. To be honest, if I went and did a 7-day itinerary, I think I would...
Would you do the Forced Wine Cellar?
I would take this whole deck of paper and use it as my sort of like task challenge to see if I could tick off everything in there. I'll try and tick off this whole list. I'd try and do the abandoned cemetery. I'd try and do the Red Star train. I'd try and do the Forced Wine Cellars under Budapest Castle. I'd do the Invisible Exhibition, maybe one night for dinner, or a fun lunch or something.
I'd quite like the Jewish cemetery, the abandoned one.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
I'd try and do all of them.
I was saying I would like it.
Would you not just try? I think 7 days you could fit in this whole episode of things to do, including
chicken paprikash.
The things away. Yeah, I'd go learn how to cook it. A proper goulash and chicken paprikash.
I think that is a good idea. And do you think you could do all of that for under £100?
No. Under £200? Maybe.
Depends how much the cooking course is.
Oh, yeah, that's very true. So, Morgan, do you have any influences who you know who have done Budapest?
One of the influencers I have watched a few times is Max Nomad.
Yeah.
And he's done some good content on Budapest, and it actually helped quite a bit with the research for this episode. Do you have any friends or influencers who have been, or are your friends influencers? Bar me, of course.
All my friends are influential.
Oh, because they've been on their gut yards.
Yeah, gut yard of Budapest.
Has anyone been to Budapest and told you anything that...
I think I've got a few friends who've gone. I've never sat down and properly picked their brain about it, but they've mainly gone for the classic cheap beer, thermal baths, and some of the party things. I really want to go for the festivals there.
Yeah, one of my friends spoke about rowing there. There's like
rowing.
As in there's a nice or canoeing. There's like a nice, not lazy river, but a nice lake or something like that you can just get a few drinks and just chill.
That sounds nice.
Chill and float, which would be cool. So we've nearly come to this, but which was your favourite thing? Your number one thing?
Of the whole list? To be honest, the children's train did really surprise me.
Yeah.
I wanted to go to that, but I'd be slightly disappointed
Korean
if I only came across
men, old
just
adults. Yeah.
Like, I find it hilarious. Just like you look at a train driver an adult and he's bossed around by a 10-year-old.
Or just buying tickets from children.
This now just sounds so wrong.
Weird, yeah.
How about yourself? What's your favourite thing we've gone through? Oh, your thing was the Unicum, wasn't it? Which almost made us vomit.
Yeah, and well, I think that...
it's getting worse, to be honest, now.
Is it?
Now the Coke's going flat.
Yeah, so you got to drink it reasonably quickly.
Yeah.
I would probably say, I mean, I don't want to say the bars, but the ruined bars do sound very interesting, and I would 100% do many other things, but I think if I went to Budapest and didn't go to a ruined bar, that would be the thing I'd be most
I'd probably be
disappointed.
annoyed by it.
Yeah.
Unless I saw a couple of them, I thought, actually, they sound a lot cooler than they are. I haven't really sat down and properly looked into them.
So I think ruined bar and I quite like the sound of the abandoned railway where you can see the Red Star train.
That sounds cool.
That sounds cool.
So sadly, that is all we've got time for on this episode of Best Kept Secrets Travel. Deep dive into Budapest, the capital of Hungary.
Unless you're Hungarian and you're now happy that it's over, that we're not butchering the language and the words anymore.
Exactly, but we are still talking about food, a few best kept secrets of travelling. And remember, please drop us a subscribe on our YouTube channel or follow us on podcast, because throughout our episodes we are giving everyone free information on how to save money whilst you're travelling, best kept secret travel tips to maximise your enjoyment on your travels, to save time, save money, how to enjoy every single moment, the things to do and not to do on your travels. But remember, it is your guys' duty to give us feedback and knowledge on what you want us to talk about in future episodes. Because if you drop a comment below and tell us what you want us to talk about, or you message us on our Instagram, which is
BKStravel,
which is now on the screen for our YouTube viewers, then please do drop that subscribe or follow button on our podcast.
But also do your own research, because...
Yeah, do your own research, but also you are going to help plant some trees around the world. You're going to help us gain a lot more traction, because we need your help so that more people like yourself can find out these best kept secrets.
And also, if you just use these videos and these episodes to help plan your trips, and if you know someone who's going to Budapest, send them a link to this episode. Or if it's Kiev, or we are going to do an episode, as we should do, on a deep dive to London very soon.
What do we do?
Roll the outro.
Yeah, let's make it happen. I hope that you can handle going on adventures, best kept secret travels. Yeah, all over the globe, having fun, you know the deal. Amazing secret locations, hang out with Morgan and Will. Educate and entertain, haggle in the market, sharing their experiences. Time to get it started. Let's go.